right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Chaos Hero Nightmare video. This is Mr. Squirrel, as always. Glad to have you here. So, want to talk about the potential system in this game and some of the pros and cons of it, as well as some things I think I'd like to see changed in the future. Because in its current form, I think it has a lot of good uses, but I also think there are issues with characters potentially don't use as many cards, and maybe the way the system might be hurting some of the cards because of its generality. So one of the things I want to talk about, there is a part in this system that creates some problematic situations, and it's these three nodes right here: basic card damage, shield gain, and healing amount increase, neutral card increase, and unique card increase. Now, I'm using Hugo very strategically here because this is the case I want to talk a little bit about. What about cards? What about characters that don't use a lot of cards? Like Hugo, for instance. Now, Hugo is a character that it was pretty much reliant on follow-up attacks with some, 1-2 unique cards that you're going to use from time to time here and there. When I was like in my earlier days of playing this game, I did put some points in the basic, and I was like, oh, I don't really use the basic that much. And I was like, well, that's whoopsies. So that's why there's 5 there, and it should be actually in unique. He gets a lot more out of unique cards than he does out of anything else. One of the things I want to highlight, though, is that for Hugo, you're looking for stats more than anything else. And so you're looking at the critical damage proficiency, the critical chance proficiency, and the upgrade unique stats right here. Everything else, so this node, the throw dagger, this node, the throw dagger, the neutral card, the basic card, these are all nodes that are not beneficial to him. He has 4 out of 5 nodes that are not that great, that he doesn't really use. So we're talking about a character and a potential system that is not conducive to the character. It de-incentivizes players to want to go for this because it's really difficult to want to sit there and say, okay, let me invest a ton of resources into building up Hugo, his potential system, when a majority of it does not benefit him. Now, I'm not saying they need to massively change the system, but there is some issues here, is that when we look at every character has these 3 nodes. I don't really like the fact that it's so generally specific to the characters, or generally applicable across all the characters and not specific to the characters. Because what it's doing here is it's saying every character gets the same thing here, and for some characters that's great, and for some characters that's not great. Like, for instance, I want to use Mei Lin. Mei Lin gets a lot more out of this system than Hugo because she is a main, attacker. She uses her uniques. She uses her basics a lot. These nodes are very proficient because they're helping out her strike cards and they're helping out her basic. So her basic is very, very powerful, and it only gets more powerful. She is a character you want to heavily invest in the potential system because she gets a lot out of it. On the other hand, Hugo and even Tressa don't. So for instance, with Tressa, the dagger throw gains 2 agony. The dagger throw, this is that 1 cost basic card that she has. What if a character basic is not something they rely on? Then these major nodes here don't help them. I think the devs need to go back to the potential system and really rethink parts of the system. Instead of making them generally applicable, they need to be more character specific, because in its current form, it's not conducive to a lot of builds. And I think a lot of this is creating some levels of some problems with some characters, especially in the tier lists. I mean, I'm not a big tier list person, but it creates an issue where some characters are just naturally going to be better because the potential system benefits them more than other characters. Mei Lin is probably, as time goes on, because the potential system is benefiting her, as opposed to Hugo, who is not for parts of it. She gets more out of the potential system than he does. Now, is this always a bad thing? Yes and no. My issue here is that I really think Honkai Star has a good, I think, potential system in play where you get really good stats, some increases to the abilities, versus this system where it's all characters pretty much get the same things with some minor tweaks here and there. Like, this improves your basics, this improves some parts of your other part, like your passives. And I think that is not good. I think that they need to be very intentional with the characters they're releasing and the potential systems that they're putting into these characters, so that you want to invest in these characters. You want to invest in the potential systems, as opposed to just saying, well, this character, I'll put potential in, but this character, not so much. Because what ends up happening is that characters like Hugo become overly reliant on memory fragments as opposed to their potential, because they're trying to get stats to increase their ability to compete in harder events. As you're going to watch in a Hugo video, it's kind of feels like my stat increases on my characters are RNG reliant, because I do need good gear. That's where I'm getting all my stats from, as opposed to I'm not really getting for Hugo, excuse me, a lot of stats from his potential system, opposed to crit chance and crit damage. And same thing with Tressa. She has the same issue, crit chance, crit damage. But what about some defense, some HP, some attack? These are things that the characters really need. And she's not getting any of that anywhere in her kit. And so I think this creates somewhat of a problematic issue, because what about like Tressa and Hugo, who don't use their basics that often, along with many other characters that really don't use their basics? We're looking at, potential systems that don't really help characters, and then it's creating player when players are seeing this, like, so wait, why am I even investing in any levels of the potential when only a few nodes are very important? And especially when those nodes are the later nodes and they need a lot of resources to be invested into, the gains from putting so much investment in those is not always equated to what you get out of it. Like, for instance, I need 16 premium growth stones of the voids to get a 2% crit chance upgrade. As opposed, what if I went and did some more gear hunting and got some better gear? You see what I mean? So when you watch some of my other videos, it will make sense. My issue at hand is that we have a potential system problem, and this is only compounding with something else that's happening. And I want to look at the amount that we need here. We need 16 for a singular increase. 16 times 5, 50. Okay, so we got 50, 80. You would need 80 to rank it completely up. Now, let's go to show something. Okay, so now when we go look at the potential material void, when I do this, I only get about 5. 5 for a like, that's 5 for a 60. 5, maybe about 6. Actually, it's about 7 when you convert. You get about 7. Remember, you need 80. So 60 energy gives you 7, right? If we say you need 80, that's about, so you would need, that's 11 times. So you would need to run 60 stamina times 11, a little bit more than that. So like 11 and a half. 60, you would need to run this 11 times 60 stamina, mind you, 11, that is 600 stamina for a singular increased node to max it out. You'd need you need close to about 700 stamina. That is 3 days of farming nothing but the potential material void. 240, no, wait, I'm sorry. I can't math. That's 5 days. That's a week of farming for one singular node. The rewards here are not helpful. I think they need to bump this up to 10, make it harder, and then we can just get more of these. Kind of similar to the gear, the memory fragments, they need to do the exact same thing. Here, this is one of the bigger issues I'm seeing kind of pop up. I know that they're increasing more materials, more resource generation, which I'm glad to see, but it is kind of frustrating in the sense that, like, when you compound the difficulty of getting these potential system resources on top of the fact that there are characters kits that just the potential system does not help them out at all. I don't get, like, now granted, is that a mandatory thing that all parts of the potential system should be beneficial and that would just force players to continually farm the potential system? No. But what I am saying is that when you have a character like Hugo, for instance, where the majority of the potential system doesn't help him, I'm getting no attack increases, no defense HP, I'm getting no raw stats, no guaranteed upgrades, then I think we have a fundamental issue with the way the potential system is being employed, especially when we consider that the potential system is very general, is that it's generally across all characters, all the potential systems are relatively very similar. In other games, it's not the same. I think when they need to think about these like talent trees, whatever it is for each character, I think there needs to be a higher level of intentionality with the design of these trees so that it is benefiting players and it is benefiting players to invest in the potential system because potential systems are what are guaranteed upgrades. I get this resource, I put it in the character, I am guaranteeing an upgrade, unlike the equipment system, which it's RNG based. You could spend 240 and then put it into the system and then not get any like new gear that would increase your character. It's an RNG upgrade. But when you do get the good gear, it's a massive upgrade, right? But the potential system should be a small increases in your stats that are benefiting each character in different ways that are pushing them to like you can push the system so that all styles of play are benefited from investing in the potential system. That's what I'm generally saying here. All right. Love to hear what everyone has to say on this. And as always, remember, failing is your first attempt in learning.